Good morning. This is Phil Dixon, and coming to you with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball. And today we're going to do something special. So, I'm going to talk about one specific player, and I wanted to come on live to do this because I think this is a special day in his life. Now, I don't have the greatest light today, which is amazing to me. So we're doing everything we can to get the best light here. Okay, so hopefully you can see me good. Don't have a great background today, so just really all me, but the background a little blurred. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining, and I want to thank everybody who's been supporting me along the way and who is finding this information that I'm giving to be educational and important. How about that? Important. And so I just want to thank you for joining and following me here. Of course, today is Saturday, November the 29th. And I'm going to come back with another edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. But I did just want to touch on one player today, and I thought I would do that. So I'm going to give it to 2 minutes and let a few people join in who might want to be engaged in this process. And then after then, what I'm going to do is hop off and maybe come back later with a full edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. So today, excuse me here, throat's a little scratchy. Weather's changing here in the Midwest, so I'm just kind of struggling through this. But today I'm going to talk about a guy by the name of Booker T. McDaniel. And the reason I want to do this because as I look online, I see a lot of his information is that old station to station information. That's what I call it. He played for this team this year, played for that team next year. Uh, he's born on this day, died on this day, but it lacks emotion and connection. And so if you want to go online and you can look up his bio, I think there's one that the Society of American Baseball Researchers wrote, Leslie Heafley, not to really criticize her work, but I'd like to bring the personality of the player. And so one of the reasons I'm able to do this is because I interviewed so many people. Okay, so that is the reason why we're talking about Booker T. McDaniel today. So now Booker T. McDaniel, he joined the Los Angeles Angels in 1949 of the Pacific Coast League. And at that time, they said that they had signed a 27-year-old guy from the Negro leagues. 27-year-old. You want to make a note of that. And so that would have made him being born in 1923. Actually, this guy was born in 1913. So he was actually 35 years old, not 27. So, which could explain some of the reasons he struggled as he came into the league because he was much older than they anticipated. But they wanted to get him there, and he became the first black pitcher to play in the Pacific Coast League. And so that's Booker McDaniel. Interesting thing was he was married on this date in 1931, November 29th, 1931, married Lavada Myers in Blackwell, Arkansas. And what's interesting about that, if you think that he's born in 23, this guy would have been, well, married for 18 years, first of all. But if he was really born in 1923, not 1913, he was really born in 13. So if he had really been born in 1923, that means he would have gotten married at maybe, 10 years old? So we know this is all incorrect information. And I always like to tell people that years ago, I used to write Topps Baseball Card Company, and they would have players' date of birth wrong. And so I would write them trying to correct it. And I would send my letter straight to Cy Berger. And so Cy Berger, somewhere, if there's an archive for Cy Berger, there's got to be some Phil Dixon correspondence in there, me trying to correct them. And he told me at that time in his correspondence that many times they would change the ball player's date of birth to make him appear younger And so this happened to white and black ball players, but certainly it happened to Booker T. McDaniel. So Booker Taliaferro McDaniel. So anyway, he did come and he pitched his first game, and he won his first game against the Portland Beavers at the Pacific Coast League. And then on June 21st, 1949, he pitched his first game in Los Angeles as a member of the Los Angeles Angels. So that's a little bit of the background of Booker T. McDaniel. But let's make him come to life. Okay, let's see if we can do that. So first of all, I had the pleasure of interviewing two of his brothers, Opal, who lived in Taromie, off Taromie Street in Kansas City, Kansas, and his brother Earl, who lived off of 61st Street in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, Earl was born in 19, let's see, he would have been, he was born in 1910. So if he was alive today, he would be 115. So that's the perspective that I was able to get. Basically, almost over a 100-year perspective as I come to you today talking about him. So Earl had played baseball himself. He had pitched and also played first base. And he worked out with the Memphis Red Sox under Larry Brown. Larry Brown kind of took him under his wing, worked with him. And so he actually was a ball player himself. Now, they were a family that all the boys, it was 4 boys, they were 2 years apart. So he was pretty close to Booker in age. So, but there's 4 brothers. And so 2 of the brothers I interviewed. So that's going to be really important because when I begin to talk about him, I can bring him to life. Now, I also interviewed Linda Page. Now, Linda remembers that Booker and Lavada would come over to their house often. And she told me they were kind of like Tom and Jerry and Frick and Frack. When you saw him coming over to visit, she was usually going to be with him. That's Lavada. And so one more story. My mother-in-law lived in the same apartment complex with Booker McDaniel and Lavada. So I'm really getting good information on Booker McDaniel. And also, he was a good friend of Mac Massengale. Mac Massengale was a guy who coached, actually he coached the Omaha Rockets, I think 1949. They were kind of like a farm team for the Kansas City Monarchs. And the person I talked about yesterday, Eugene Collins, actually played for the Omaha Rockets before coming to the Kansas City Monarchs. All this stuff is connected once you understand who was moving around and where they were, that kind of thing. So anyway, I was able to talk to my mother-in-law, his brothers, and also Mac Massengale has a son who also remembers Booker and Lavada. So this is good information. So anyway, the boys started off playing baseball in Morrilton, Arkansas. Now, Morrilton had a team called the Morrilton Sluggers. Now, interesting thing about Morrilton, the first time I ever heard about Morrilton, there was a lady who lived up the street from me. Her name was Miss Young, and I interviewed her back in 1976 for a class I was taking on American folklore, and they said, go out and interview people. So I interviewed her, and she was from Morrilton, and she was the first one who kind of educated me to the politics and what was going on in Morrilton. It was a very segregated and racist city. And she told me that her husband had actually went to court for cursing at a white guy. And they actually killed him in court, is the story she told me. And she became so belligerent that, and she wouldn't let it go, that her parents recommended that she come to Kansas City, Kansas. And so she did. And as a kid, when I interviewed her, she was like 89 years old. And she attended the same church that I did. So that's my first introduction to Morrilton. Okay, so Morrilton is in Conway County. And Conway County, another town there is Blackwell, Arkansas. And that's where Booker and Lavada were married in 1931 on November the 29th. So anyway, that's where they got their start playing with this Morrilton team. Now the Morrilton team was started by a guy, and his name was Julius C. McCaskill. Now McCaskill had also played for the Memphis Red Sox. Okay, so he was a first baseman for the Memphis Red Sox, and so he had played, and so they were getting ability to play and learning how to play with a guy who was connected. And also, Julius started the team, the Morrilton, Arkansas Sluggers, but he also was assisted by another guy named Alfonso Bland. Now, both McCaskill and Bland had played for the Tulsa Black Oilers, and they both had experience with the Negro leagues, with McCaskill with Memphis Red Sox, and then Alfonso would go on to play with several teams. But they're there in Morrilton starting this team. And interesting thing, when I was interviewing Earl told me that McCaskill had a peg leg, and he said he would remove it often when it would start to bother him. And but the most important thing is that he had a peg leg, and there's some stories about how he had some grain elevator accident, and that's the reason why he had his leg amputated. But in the stories that are online, they say that he had his foot amputated, the bios that I've read. But Earl said his leg was amputated, and he had the peg leg that he used. So anyway, that's where they all got their start. And with those two great men, former Negro League players who were down in that area. And Booker actually ended up playing for a team in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And that's when the Kansas City Monarchs came down, and Satchel Paige saw him and signed him up for his second team. I don't know, I can't remember, it was 1939 or 40. It was one of those years. Now, I do have the second team scrapbook because New Joseph was the manager of that team, and his wife many years ago gave me the second team scrapbook. So I have lots of photographs of Booker McDaniel with that second team. But unfortunately, well, I guess it's fortunately, the pictures from 1939 are also mixed in with the pictures from 1940. So I can't tell which photographs came from which year. So that's the reason why I'm kind of a little gray on whether he started in 1939 or 1940. But we do know he was definitely with the Monarchs second team. Okay? And then the other thing, let me give you a little more background, because the thing is, guys, we have to get away from this old station-to-station research, and we have to find ways to make these guys come alive. Now, unfortunately, we can't go back and get the interviews like we have, but if you reach out to families, you can also find stories that have been handed down through the generations of different people. I know for me, Opal had I guess it was his grandson. Opal's grandson actually played for me as a coach. I coached him as well. So I've actually coached one of Booker's relatives, believe it or not, in baseball. He was a high school kid, and I coached a high school team. Lots of things I can say about Booker. When I was reading Heathley's bio, she talked about his father passing away. Well, when I talked to Earl, he talked about his mother passing away more than he did about his father. And he said that his mother passed away, and she was embalmed at the home. And he talked about how they put the blood in a big tub, and the boys had to throw it out. And he said, and it was 1917. He said he was 9 years old when his mother passed away. And he said, and the father would pass away shortly thereafter, and that's the one that's mentioned in Heathley's bio on Booker. But the boys were left to fend for themselves, and so they stayed together. And Earl was the oldest, so he was kind of like in charge of the boys. And I know Earl told me, he said when the funeral was over, all of the relatives left. The four boys there, he said the folks left the house like it was on fire after the funeral. He said they got out of there, and the boys were on their own. So he said that he assigned people, his brothers, to different jobs. And he said Earl said he took care of him, and he said Booker's job was washing clothes. So he was washing clothes, and he started ironing, and so he was almost like a washerwoman right there, and he was taking in they were taking in laundry and washing clothes around the community, and he told me that that Booker could wash and iron as good as any lady in the community. How about that? That's Booker McDaniel. Now, this is the part that helps to bring them alive, right? And that's kind of what he did. And they end up raising themselves. And so you have a little bit about his baseball career. And now, when he comes to the Kansas City Monarchs, this is Booker McDaniel, he's always good friends with Satchel Paige. He was good friends with Buck O'Neill. Who else did he hang around? He hung around several of the Kansas City Monarchs that were right there in Kansas City, Kansas. Now, Kansas City, Kansas is where I come from. It's not a big community, but the black community was pretty close-knit community. And so I knew many people would see Booker, and Booker would come to the park where I later played, which was Heathwood Park. And he would be around the park, and once again, Mac Massingale. And I guarantee you, I haven't found any, but I guarantee you that he played some games with Mac Massingale's Kansas City, Kansas Giants, even after all of these things that happened with the Monarchs and the Los Angeles Angels. He's still around Kansas City, Kansas, and baseball was pretty big, and you could draw some really good crowds down at Heathwood Park. So Booker was down in that area. And that's the reason why I knew so many people who knew Booker. So kind of in closing, I'll give you a few things that I know. Well, first of all, if you look at Heasley's bio, she mentioned that he passed away in Kansas City, Missouri. Well, guess what, guys? That is not correct either. So getting this information correct is really important. I have Booker's death certificate right here. Yeah, this is death certificate. And basically says that he died on December the 12th, 1974. So when we get to December the 12th, I might talk about him again. He died at Providence Hospital. Providence Hospital is still in business as Providence St. Margaret's now. But that's where he was at the time of his death. And it says that he was widowed. So I'm going to have to go back and see when Lavada died, and that I'm not sure of, but she would have passed away in Kansas City, Kansas also. And his informant for this was Henry McDaniel, another brother. How about that? No, I take that back. That was his father's name. His father was Henry. His mother's name was Lottie. I'm getting ahead of myself. Earl was the informant. Remember Earl, his brother, the one I interviewed who lived on 61st Street? Okay, that was Earl. And Booker died from throat cancer. And a lot of those guys really smoked. A lot of ball players smoked. And if you look at ads and advertisements in that period, you will see a lot of baseball players recommending cigarettes. Some of your greatest stars were pushing cigarettes. So not surprised that some of these guys were smoking. Also, the caretaker or the doctor for him at that time was Dr. Taliaferro. And how about this? Dr. Taliaferro was my doctor growing up. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I knew Dr. Taliaferro very well, and he was on 13th Street in Kansas City, Kansas, not too far from where Booker lived. Interesting thing, I remember I played football in the 6th grade, and then when I was a senior, I had to go back and get another physical, and so I decided to go back to Dr. Taliaferro to get my physical. And so he pulled out my record. He said, "It's been a while since you were here." He said, "The last time you were here, you were getting a football physical." He said, "You were 5'11" and 122 pounds. And I was playing football, right? So anyway, that was Dr. Taliaferro, but he was also Booker's doctor. So when you try to bring these things together, it becomes important. Now, I will also say that according to this record, Booker is not buried in Kansas City, Kansas. He's buried in Kenwood, Arkansas. and I'm not sure what the connection is there. I'm going to look that up and dig a little deeper into that. And then also, his body was handled by Thatcher's Funeral Home. And Thatcher's handled quite a few ball players. Thatcher is still in business. And Myrtle Thatcher, who was about 100 years old when I used to go down to Thatcher, she helped me with a lot of research on knowing who had passed away. So people like Andrew Skinner was handled by Thatcher's. Willard Rogan, Bully Rogan's brother, I know they took care of his service. They took care of Chappie Gray, the old Kansas City. Actually, he played for different teams. Chappie Gray was a catcher in the Negro Leagues. He's buried in West Lawn Cemetery. They handled his funeral, and many, many more came through the Thatcher's mortuary. So, yeah, and I think they're on their third or fourth generation in Kansas City. So, guys, what I want to do is give you just a little more information about Booker T. McDaniel, because, like I say, I'm not so happy with what I'm seeing in some places. I will also tell you this, guys. His last job was working at the Wyandotte Grain Factory. Now, if you lived in Kansas City, Kansas, many people worked at the grain elevators, and there's a lot of silos around in Kansas City, Kansas, related to grain, and that's where he worked. Matter of fact, I had a close friend in high school who died working there. So we knew about the grain elevators. I never wanted to work for the grain elevators. I was determined to do something different with my life. Didn't want to work in the factories around Kansas City, Kansas. So I tried to cut a different path. I guess I did, because now I'm 69 years old and never had to work there. So anyway, guys, I hope this helps a little bit to make Booker T. McDaniel come alive. And I think that's pretty much all that I have that I want to say. But when we start to write these bios and you start to look at this history, guys, it's really important if we can bring these characters to life, these individuals who had these great and outstanding baseball careers. And you notice I didn't spend much time on Booker's baseball. And he, of course, his nickname was Cannonball. This guy was a strikeout pitcher and did very well for many years. I didn't spend much time on that because I wanted to get you to understand that we're not making these ball players' lives become, we're not making them human. We're just giving some statistics and that old, what I call station-to-station research. You played for this team that year, you played for that team that year. Maybe that's good for some people, maybe it's good for certain things, but it does not let you know who that ball player was. And that has been my mission from the very beginning, 45 years ago, to bring these men back to life so that you can appreciate them in a whole different way. Okay, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm about to get out of here. But before I do, I want to say hello to a few people who join me. And if you like what I'm doing here, guys, go ahead and subscribe. Sometimes I'm pretty opinionated, and I have to apologize for that because, well, I've said with this subject a long time, and I care about it deeply and dearly. So I may not say some things that are PC, we'll just say that. But it's my personal opinion, and it's opinion that I think somebody might appreciate. So I try to be as honest as I can. If I think there's a player getting more credit or not enough credit, I'm going to let you know that. So all right then. So I want to say we got Carter Baseball. Hello there. And we have another one. Some of these names are kind of unique. But I tell you what, if you tell me where you are, that's even better. Where you're coming from, because usually I know the names of these cities. Let's see. This is Bogger 8. So how are you? I'm doing great. And we got Bogger 8. He made so happy to meet you. Be sure and follow if you like this kind of stuff. And then he said, I feel bad. My dad died. My mother's still alive. I understand that. I lost both of my parents, and I understand that quite a bit. So, yeah, guys, if we can keep these stories alive, we keep these people alive. So even in your own families, guys, make a note of your family's history and write some of these stories down and pass them on to the next generation. I will say this, and then I will close on this one. Um, in 1898, one of my relatives wrote our family history, and it goes down as a slave narrative. It was Henry Clay Bruce, and he wrote a book, 29 Years a Slave, 29 Years a Free Man, and that was my great uncle. So while some people are wondering what their families did during slavery, I can pick up his book from 1889 and read my family's history. And so we take it for granted that we're going to be here for a long time. And guys, some of us have been here for a long time. But the truth of the matter is, many generations are going to come behind us. Take a moment, maybe during this holiday season, and write a sentence a day. Just trying to write as many memories as you can about your family, and then pass it down. So, all right, somebody says they got their grandfather's autobiography in the back seat of my car right now. Okay, thanks for sharing. That's good. That's good stuff, guys. And that's it looks like, is that ruined Randy or something? Ruined T, something like that, Randy. But anyway, tell me where next time you guys come in. Let me know where you are following me from. I appreciate that because I don't know what my reach is, but I will tell you this: I'm going on 4 months being in this format, the YouTube, and I've been researching for over 49 years. Been a baseball fan since we're talking about 60-something years. I started collecting baseball cards. I was 6 or 7 years old, and so basically I'm 69. So all my life has been pretty much following baseball to some degree. So now I get a chance to talk about it. But I also do a lot of presentations. And if you look up Phil S. Dixon, you'll know I've written books and gone many places, talked to many people, all ethnicities, small towns, large towns. I'm a member of the Kansas Humanities, was a past member of Missouri Humanities Council. So I've gone all over, and I really enjoy talking about baseball. But today I just wanted to come on and talk about a person that you all need to know about if you want to follow the Negro Leagues, and you would know about this guy a little deeper. So Randy says that he was a dairy farmer in rural PA. See, that's all important information when you're passing this down. You know, you might even go, if he's a dairy farmer, I'm sure somebody, if they're still around, could tell you the names of his cows. We had a horse, and when I came along, the horse had passed on. But my family had a horse, my older brothers and sisters, and the horse's name was Mert. The horse name, they named the horse Mert. Now, I never saw Mert, but because it was passed down, I knew it. So anyway, now I'm just starting to ramble, guys. So let me get out of here because somebody want to listen to this broadcast and maybe they want to hear about my family's horse. All right, guys, you have a nice day and keep enjoying this Thanksgiving weekend if you're in America. I just appreciate and love you all for following me. We're trying to get to 400 subscribers as quickly as we can. So if you like this kind of information, guys, like I say, I always try to tell people, I don't have any scantily dressed girls dancing around, so that's not going to attract you. And, you know, I'm not going to give you any super funny jokes, something funny to make you laugh. I just give you history, and history that kind of teaches you ways that you can do your own history. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and have a nice day. And I will be back probably later today with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History, things that happened through the ages on November 29th, since today is November 29th, 2025. And I'm looking at some of the things I have. It's pretty good stuff I have. So you might want to come back and listen to some of this. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your comments. Appreciate it. And if you come back, just always let me know where you're following me from or listening from, okay? And thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I hope your day is the best. I hope you have the greatest day you ever had. Okay, thank you, guys. You have a nice day. Bye.